Hello, everybody. It's good to see so many people here. Friends of Cuba, amigos de Cuba, compañeros y compañeras. My Spanish is not so good. It is very important that we're all here right now. My name is Jared. I'm here on behalf of the Toronto Association for Peace and Solidarity, or TAPS. I've been asked to speak. I'll keep my statements brief. I'm going to talk for a second about sovereignty. Sovereignty. For the last 70 years, sovereignty, self-determination, has been a foundational principle of international law, and by extension, a core organizational principle of TAPS. Sovereignty, self-determination, the right of a people to choose their own path, to use their natural resources for their own benefit, the right of a people to not be dominated by a larger or more powerful nation. My friends, we are here quite simply to defend the sovereignty of the Cuban people against the imperial actions of the United States. Cuba's sovereignty has been under attack for over 6 decades. Shame! And they lob all sorts of accusations against Cuba. While the United States accuses Cuba of supporting terrorism, the United States supports the terrorist state of Israel and the genocide of Palestinians. Shame! While they accuse Cuba of being a national security threat, federal agents, ICE, openly execute American citizens in broad daylight. Shame! They do not attack Cuba because it is supposedly undemocratic. They do not attack Cuba because they think Cuba is a national security threat. They know Cuba does not export and manufacture drugs or support terrorism or any other ridiculous fairy tale that you'll see in the mainstream media. No, my friends, they attack Cuba for one very simple reason. Because the Cuban people have the audacity to choose their own destiny. Because the Cuban people have committed the crime of exercising their fundamental right to self-determination. Now this blockade is nothing more than economic warfare designed to destroy Cuban sovereignty. To bring about misery, poverty, desperation, and ultimately the overthrow of the Cuban government. Replace it with a U.S. puppet which will put American corporate interests before the interests of the Cuban people. Now, this is not merely an attack on Cuban sovereignty. This is an attack on the sovereignty of all the nations of the world. Any nation which dares to put their people before the interests of American corporations is under attack by the United States through their attack on Cuba. This blockade, the sheer barbarity, the abject cruelty of this blockade is the longest standing example of unilateral domination that international law is supposedly there to prevent. Now, just a couple days ago, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. So you've heard of this guy? Narco. Fascistic crusader against Cuba at the Munich Security Council openly called for a recolonization of the world by Western colonial powers. Blatantly spouted chauvinistic and white supremacist bile in front of European leaders to resounding applause. Shame! Shame! These imperialists have no shame. Now, a month ago, we saw a very different speech from Prime Minister Mark Carney in Davos, and I, for one, sincerely hope that it is not all talk. But now is the time for Canada to put our money where our mouth is, so to speak, and stand up for sovereignty, stand up for international law, stand up for equality among nations. We demand that Canada send oil immediately to Cuba and defy. Thank you very much. Viva Cuba! Hasta la victoria siempre!